You're listening to another episode of the Just Go Bike podcast, powered by RAGBRAI. This is the award-winning podcast where we are all about the culture of cycling, just for the fun of it. Your hosts are Murph from the Murphology podcast and AP from Parrot Talk. With tales from all over the nation, come for the bikes, stay for the fun, and leave with a smile. And now here is Murph.
Hey, that's me.
And AP.
Hey, that's me.
Well, hey there, AP.
Hey, Murph.
Here we are live in person in Parrot Talk Studios once again.
That's right. And what a pleasure it is.
I know it is. Also, we've been hanging out virtually, you could say.
That's right. We have been cycling our buns off with Zwift on our e-trainers.
Yeah, it's been pretty fun. A couple days ago, we virtually rode together, and I made a nice goal to end the month of March. I think you said you're ahead of your goal.
I had already surpassed my goal. Are you going to say what your goal was? Because it's huge.
No.
Can I say?
No.
All right. Murph's ridden a crap ton of miles this year. Put it that way.
I love riding my bike. So there we go. Yeah. And, we'll talk about it a little bit more, but we're part of a club on Zwift. So if you are a member of Zwift, go find it. Either find the RAGBRAI Club or Just Go Bike Club, and be one with all of us who virtually ride.
We've been riding about once a week, maybe twice a week, depending on how busy we are. So hopefully there's a time that would work for you to join us.
Yes. And this week has been very busy in RAGBRAI world. I mean, dare I say, exciting.
Yes, a very busy week indeed, and we have been lucky enough to have a moment with RAGBRAI Ride Director Matt Phippen. Thanks for joining us, Matt.
Hello, how are you?
Hi, Matt.
Wonderful.
We're so glad to have you here.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, this has been an exciting week so far.
And I will say, Matt has not stopped talking this whole day today, in a good way.
Yeah.
In a good way, yeah.
I've been on a lot of meetings.
Yeah, because everybody wants to know about the route.
So just yesterday, you guys made the announcement of all the pass-through towns, which is different than what we learned in January. That's correct, Matt, right?
That is correct. Yeah, we announced the overnight towns in January. We announced all the dots that connect those overnight towns.
So this means now we know exactly where we'll be going, each community, when we ride our bikes on RAGBRAI LII.
Yeah. And for some of us, it doesn't matter where we ride. And some of us, we care a lot. And for people like you and me who care a lot, this is exciting.
Oh, it's very exciting.
Yeah.
So this is one of our most popular episodes where we have Matt help us take a deep dive into what each day looks like as far as, terrain, mileage, all of that good stuff. And then, of course, AP and I will throw in a few fun facts that we found. Of course, as we get closer to the actual ride, there'll be so many more things that we'll be telling you about each of these communities.
Yeah. And I think let's start off with a couple of overarching facts about the route. I know for a fact that there are 7 brand new communities on the route this year. Sorry to steal your thunder if you were going to say that.
Thunder stolen. That's fine. I'll go away.
You want to talk about the biggest news of all on the route?
What's that?
We're not just going to be in Iowa.
Yeah, we're going to go to Minnesota this year.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I feel like we had to get that one right out of the way because it's exciting. It's different.
Yeah, it's something that, obviously we're close, and there was a road that connected Iowa and Minnesota that I wanted to just ride on to say, hey, we touched Minnesota, but you just can't touch Minnesota. When you're that close, you got to go into Minnesota.
Oh,
so it's 15 miles up into Minnesota and then back down. So that day where you guys couldn't figure out how it was only 18 miles into Esterville, well, it's actually 40 miles, and we're going to go north because of it.
Yeah.
Do we have to have like a special passport or anything? Do we need special permission to go into Minnesota?
I just think you need all your shots. As long as all your shots are good, then you should be fine. No, I think it should be pretty
all
easy.
The Minnesota people are getting hot right now.
That's right. No, it'll be good.
All right.
Oh, that's super cool. So, I guess tell us how you've gotten to this point where now we all know the route, every detail of it. What does it take to get to this point?
Well, I think we've talked multiple times over the last, 3 years of having these conversations, and a route on paper is just a route on paper. And it looks amazing, and you feel good about it, but until you start having behind the scenes phone calls and face-to-faces, it changes dramatically. And there was towns this year that were on the map that got pulled because of Mother Nature last year causing havoc in some areas. There was towns that got added because we needed a town in this area to make the route work and be efficient for the entire week and not go backwards. So you're having conversations this year that were probably going to be a conversation for next year or the following year based on my 3 to 5 year plan. So, there's town, Iowa Falls is, the one that originally we're on my map for this year because they just hosted in 21. I was going to give them at least 2 more years and then go back and visit them. Well, because of how everything kind of played out, you're knocking on that door saying, hey, we're in the area. So then when you go to that area, there are pass-through towns that you have to go through that were probably on the same, route in 21. So, surprise, we're back, and it's in 4 years. So, you take what you have. You work with amazing partners with the DOT, with the county, with the state patrol, and you try to have the right people in the room to make sure that you're looking at every possible thing that could cause problems. Bridge projects, we had a route done, and then literally 2 weeks ago we got a call, this bridge is going to be out now. So what do we do? And I would love to say that once we lock this route in, Iowa just stops until RAGBRAI comes through to make sure that we're in a good spot. But Iowa still, thrives every single day. So these projects are happening. So you look at it and go, okay, based on where the bikes are coming in, based on where support goes, how do we reroute? Because I'll say this out loud again. I don't want to take people on gravel that don't want to go on gravel. And sometimes there's only so many options that you can do. Well, the good news is we're not taking anybody on gravel as of right now based on this project. So it'll get done and it'll happen. But it's just that surprise. We thought we were in a good spot, and then things change and you make adjustments. But the cool thing from my perspective is you have the right people in the room so you can make those changes and discuss through what it looks like, what road, how long are we going to be on this one? How long are we going to be on that one? And if it makes sense from a safety point, we do it. It's not the state saying, well, we don't want you on our state roads. It's not the county saying we don't want you on the county roads. We're going to be on the road that makes the most sense and it's the safest. And if it's a state road, great. If it's a county road, great. But either way, riders are going to have a safe experience across the state.
I'm so proud of you and the communication and the connections that you've made with like DOT. And maybe it's just because now I work so much closely with all of you guys. But like when you start talking about that, I feel like there was a time in RAGBRAI when there was not that close of a communication, and you're nailing it.
Yeah, and I can't speak on what happened in previous years, but I just know the feeling in the room, and I feel like good being on these calls. And I feel, there's still relationships that we're trying to still build and trying to, massage a little bit in some areas. And, I'm not going to have everybody jumping up for joy when they hear RAGBRAI's coming through.
What?
But
why not?
I'm sure going to try, but I think it's us doing right by them and showing them that we take this very serious and we want to make sure that we're on roads that make sense, and together we'll get this right across the state. But yeah, I'm proud of that. I'm very proud of our relationship with the DOT, the state patrol. I think it's, I've said it multiple times. I think it's super strong, but now it's like, I need to work on the counties and make sure the counties feel good about it too, because I don't think they all feel good about it. And there's 99 of those that we have to deal with. So, or get to deal with, from a positive standpoint. And, I want to make sure that when they hear RAGBRAI come through, they're not rolling their eyes going, oh, here's a week of our lives that are going to be a mess. Like, I want them to feel good about it.
Yeah.
And I think if they know that they're in the room when they need to be in the room and having conversations, and we can get on the roads that they want us on based on their projects, there's just so many moving parts that if this thing wasn't a secret, it'd be so much easier to do.
Yeah.
Because you could pull everybody into the room and have one conversation right out of the gate, but you're trying to do things behind the scenes to feel everybody out. And at the end of the day, we do it because it is such a big deal for riders to have it be announced.
And then once you finish all the 99 counties, you got to do all the states now, because
now we got to talk to states
broke the seal.
their counties.
We can go to every other state. So,
well, and in RAGBRAI, to people who don't embrace it like we do, I mean, RAGBRAI is just a bike ride, right?
Yep.
It's just, I'm going on vacation, I'm going to go ride my bike. But it's so much more when you look at the building of community, the money that it brings into our state, the all the businesses that benefit from it. It's so much more, which, I mean, I'm talking to the wrong crowd because you guys
I get it, but it's, it'll always be a battle for us showing the value of what RAGBRAI is. And I was having a conversation earlier, and there are people in Iowa that I do believe just take it for granted because for as long as they've been alive, they've always known of RAGBRAI. Right. It's always been this thing that's in Iowa, and it just happens in July. And if it's not in your area, great. If it's in your area, it's going to cause me problems today going to work and getting home if I'm not a cyclist. But they don't they don't know of the impact. And I think that's something that we need to do a better job of, is showing what that impact is and what it does for these communities. And, and we see the report that just came out on social, $85,000 is going back into a community, and there's parks that are benefiting. There's organizations that are benefiting because of that, because of RAGBRAI came through.
Yeah.
And the community did a great job promoting their community and doing right by both us and the riders, that they have that money now to spend in the community and have that lasting, impact there. So the next time we come through, RAGBRAI impact was left behind.
Yeah. I remember when we did our town visits a month ago, we went to Cedar Falls, and they were talking about how they had public art that was made because of RAGBRAI's visit last time. Mm-hmm. So we'll have to try to visit that when we go on the pre-ride.
Yeah,
but it's just
sure.
one of many, many, many examples.
So obviously at this point, you can go to ragbrai.com and you'll be able to see this entire map and all the places that we're going. But the purpose of this podcast episode is to really take a deep dive and kind of hear the ride director's perspective of the places. I know that this RAGBRAI is a little over 400 miles. And not the steepest RAGBRAI, right?
Yeah, it's one of the more flatter ones.
Okay. Well, you don't want to say more flat because there's still hills,
well,
right?
coming off of last year, it's a lot more flat. I will say that.
Okay.
But no, they're like funny thing. We brought it up, like we were talking again about Iowa and misconceptions, and we joked about how flat Iowa is, and we joked because it's not flat,
right?
And these riders, I think come and they have this conception of, they see Iowa on a map and go, oh, this is in the middle of the country. Like, this is super flat. Mm-hmm. And then you turn the corner and you have, 3,500 feet to climb that day. Mm-hmm. So the good news is there's not 3,500 feet to climb any day this week.
Okay, very good.
But, you're going to be on a flatter spot. And, based on the route and how it flows, you're going to have a lot of true west to east routes, where if you get a tailwind, you'll be able to fly. So, you mix the flatter route with a tail, and you give the option of you're free to fly that day.
Well, and I think that means you get more time in the pasture towns that way.
Oh, that's
for
huge.
Sure, yeah.
Yep, that's huge.
Yeah.
And
AP and I are both crossing our fingers that we'll have a tailwind.
Oh yeah, every day.
Well, at least a couple days. I don't know about every day.
I was going to say every day.
Okay, every day. All right.
Well, you two be in charge of that, so when that doesn't happen, they can be mad at you.
Oh yeah, I don't want them mad at me.
What have we done?
Okay, so should we take a deep dive in?
Let's dive in.
Okay, so Matt, I'll just start with, day zero. Obviously, we'll have the expo in Orange City, and all of those details will be coming soon. But day one, we launch from Orange City.
Yeah, and so for those that are just tuning in and listening to this, like, Orange City is not on the river. So there will be two options for dip sites. Mm-hmm. So you'll have a downtown dip, which is basically tanks filled up with water from the river that you can put your tires in. But if you truly have to have your tire in the river, they're going to run shuttles that will take you out there and drop you. It's just the distance that day is too long to do an out and back. Mm-hmm. So they're going to basically route, via a shuttle system through Orange City. So you can load your bike, you can, ride halfway out there, dip your tires, and get either shuttled back. So that's all on Orange City RAGBRAI's website. I think we've shared it.
Yep.
We're still talking through what that looks like, but that is for the rider that truly says, I have to dip in the physical river.
And has the time, because that's obviously going to be a time commitment.
Yeah, it is. If you're coming in that day, you're going to spend, 2 hours probably round trip to get out there and get back. Mm-hmm. And, easily, probably more than that when it's all said and done. So, take advantage of that, but know that there will be troughs in town that are full of water that you can dip to say that you've dipped.
Which is so cool that they took the effort. Orange City's doing that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. If I remember back to the last time we were in Orange City, their in-town dip option was really nice. It was really well done. So I would consider strongly doing that.
Yeah. So that day, 71.8 miles. So a longer first day. Obviously, this was a day that was affected by Mother Nature and kind of how the route flowed around, but it ended up working out for all good in the end. 1,500 feet of climb with a max grade of 2.9%. So
not bad.
A pretty flat day, not a whole lot of big spikes in elevation. But we do have 4 communities en route. We will head the first 10 miles out of Orange City will be Granville. And they're a town based on my Google searching and my online have been en route 7 times.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Okay. And my research says that Granville's known for their black Iowa dirt. So look for the very fertile soil. I just took a trip down south to Arkansas, and their dirt is orange. So people from around the country, check out this. This is what Iowa's known for.
So that'll be fun if I do the crop report again this year.
You better.
Granville is going to be
number one.
Right.
Yep. And this day one of RAGBRAI is also, the theme is Mile of Silence. And we don't know exactly where the Mile of Silence, well, maybe Matt does, but it's not official yet. It's usually within the first half of the route. So I mention it now.
Yeah, we try to get it, done early to start that process. But it's definitely a mile stretch where we ask there's no conversation. You turn your headphones off and you literally just remember the ones that lost their lives in the previous year.
Yeah. So it's a really cool thing. But all right, so then we roll on to Primgar.
Yeah, Primgar. So 19.8 miles from Granville to this community. This will be the longest stretch of the entire week.
Wow.
So you get it out of the way right away. So
Yeah.
you have a 20-mile stretch with nothing in between. But yeah, is the longest stretch. Based on my fact finding, 4 times. And 2017 was the last time we visited that area.
And based on my fact finding, this town is known for its cobblestone streets and its heritage. So we'll see if we are pedaling on some cobblestone streets.
Okay.
And also Primgar has a unique spelling. So it'll be, I don't know how you could mispronounce it, but it's Primghar.
Primgar is the only Primgar in the world because the name is an acronym for the settlers who laid out the town.
Aha, that makes sense.
I did not write out their names, but you can find it online.
Okay.
So we will head 14.3 miles down the road to Hartley, and Hartley will be our meeting town for the day. So 44.8 miles into the route, you'll be at almost the halfway point.
Cool. Hartley was known in the 1800s for making cigars.
Oh.
I won't give a fun fact for every town, but that was a really fun one, I thought. So there you go. It'd be a great meeting town. I don't think I'll be smoking a stogie while we're there, but I guess, do you.
Perfect. And the last town of the day is kind of a fun town from the standpoint on we spent a lot of time trying to find someone in this town to talk to. And the times that we were traveling, we traveled in snowstorms. It was freaking cold outside, and you drive through and you couldn't find anybody. They had a fire department, so we kind of navigated what that looked like. We couldn't find a city hall. I got a couple numbers for mayors. That they don't have a mayor, I guess I was told. So whoever I was calling wouldn't return a phone call. But I ended up pulling them from the map because we got to a point where we had to start finalizing things.
Sure. Well, yeah.
And I got a phone call from one of our vendors that said, "Hey, May City reached out to us. They want us to come and be a part of their event." And I'm like, "Well, they're not even on the map right now."
You're like, wait a minute.
I said, "I need a number. Can you give me a number?" So he gave me the contact. I talked to the gentleman. He was super excited. They already had a logo created.
Yeah,
I mean, they were all in. So May City is back on the map. So it's good to have them because they play a role in support that day. But having to remove them had a huge gap, and with them being there now, we have support. So I feel good about it.
They have a population of about 43 people. So I think
my gosh,
the people to enthusiasm ratio is very high.
Yeah, he was super excited to be on route.
So they got that going.
Wow.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun stop. Yeah. So then we head on into Milford, which, speaking of fun spots, I mean, Milford's part of the Great Lakes region.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and that's our overnight town for day one. Wow. So about 72 miles, and you said our longest stretch is out of the way as far as between towns. So if you're not tired and sore after day one, you're set for the week.
Yeah, you're good to go.
Yeah.
Average miles between town is 14.4.
Okay.
So it's a good stretch. Part of our theme this year is take flight. So what I've kind of looked at and done is routing the route past airports. So we'll go past Orange City Airport and we'll actually camp right next to Milford's airport.
that's so cool.
Yeah.
Maybe we have to camp that day.
There is no chance you are camping that day. I just saw the look of Murph.
Maybe not.
I don't think I've ever got such a death stare from
No,
Murph before.
Murph needs a shower in a cool room.
I would like a shower, yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay, day two starts from Milford, Iowa, and tell us the rest of the day.
Yeah, so this is the day that we go to Minnesota. So this is the exciting day. Wappington is the first town out of the gate, and it's 3.6 miles. So you could basically walk there and get there pretty quick. So it's a pretty close shot. They reached out early on. We're super excited to host. they'll be looked at as kind of the breakfast community of the day. So having breakfast there. Right now, we plan to navigate to the park that's right off the road there, and they have this really, really cool bike art for the most part. So if you can, it's pretty cool on the side of the road, but we'll be at the park there. And I think last time we talked to them, they're trying to raise money for pickleball courts. They have some pickleball courts that are close too. So if that does anything for you, you can donate to pickleball. But we'll be the first kind of breakfast town, and we've already kind of had some big breakfast vendors interested in that spot. But yeah, a new town en route.
A new town en route. Gold Point State Park is located in Wahpeton.
Okay. Yeah. So from there, this next town, I researched and researched and researched. I could not find it anywhere. And
you couldn't find Brown Park?
Yeah, I couldn't find Brown Park. Like, is Brown Park a place, or is it an actual park? And tell me why, Matt.
We're going to turn Brown Park, which is a park, into a community.
Aha!
So we will punch our way into Minnesota, route across Minnesota, and Brown Park is kind of located in the middle of the route for the day. 15.2 miles from the first town to this park. So you're about 20 miles into the ride, and we're going to build an oasis, but we'll have infrastructure there for the rider. So beautiful park. They also have some bike art there, which is really, really cool. And, they don't have full infrastructure with all the toilets and everything that they need. So we'll support them like we support our towns in Iowa. So they'll receive the seed money and be able to book porta potties. But they've basically blocked off an entire section of campsites for RAGBRAI and RAGBRAI vendors. But the goal is to build truly a town in this area. So bring in some of our vendors, some of our sponsors, and then, have it be a day where you feel like you're not in a rush, like AP was saying earlier, because of the short distance and the possibility of having beautiful weather. You're not going to feel like you're in a rush to get there. Yeah. So then you have the ability to kind of hang out and relax for a while.
And is Brown Park actually in Iowa or in Minnesota?
It is in Minnesota. It's in Jackson County, Minnesota. So we have been in conversations with their DOT, so Minnesota DOT, the Minnesota County, Jackson County, and the Bike Coalition in Minnesota too. So we're all trying to find ways how to see how to make this work and make sure we do it right, because this is obviously uncharted waters for us. Yeah. Obviously, we want to learn a lot about this process and what it takes to go into a different state. But so far, it's been pretty awesome to have some conversations with these, agencies, and they're pretty excited about showing off their state.
I mean, we are making history.
It's huge. It's kind of a cool thing. Yeah. We're excited about it. And just when you work with someone that has the same enthusiasm that we do around RAGBRAI, and it's not this, lift for them, because they want to showcase, their state just like we want to showcase ours.
Can you describe their faces the first time you dropped the bomb on them?
Well, it was all via phone. Oh, okay. So my first face to face was on a phone call. But obviously, I have a feeling that I can tell when someone's smiling on the other end of the line, and like they were definitely smiling. And there was never I didn't get hung up on, which was kind of a good thing. I got return calls. So it's cool, but
that's awesome.
No, I think for our first time testing this and to be able to be this close to Minnesota and then take the ride into it just adds that extra experience that when you've been on RAGBRAI for over 50 years, we've kind of hit every area of our state. So why not start exploring somewhere else?
Yeah. That's so awesome. I can't wait.
So we'll leave eventually towards the end of the day. We'll leave Brown Park and head to Superior, 14.3 miles, about 33 miles into the ride. But I believe they are another town that has never hosted before.
That's right. It's one of the other bonuses of going to somewhere just slightly out of state is that we get to catch some of these towns along the border that we might not have been able to access otherwise.
And Superior has a population of 132.
Oh,
which is also teeny tiny.
Yeah. And it's they're obviously they're nervous, which any town under 200 is going to be nervous. But we've had towns from last year that just hit a home run, and they're around the same size. The town I'm thinking of too even was the last town before the overnight town, so we can provide them with plenty of assets to help them be successful.
Yeah, I think Superior is going to be a superior town.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Nice. And then we'll end in Esterville, so 8.1 miles, and then we are overnighting in Esterville, so the overall miles for the day, 41.2 miles.
And elevation?
Elevation is going to be a little over 1,100 feet of climb.
Okay. I think also right now is a good time to pause and say that this day on RAGBRAI is going to be Thin Line Appreciation Day. Phipp, you want to talk about that a little bit?
I would love to. So, part of a day that we do later in the week, which we'll talk about, which is I Ride For, this kind of day popped up, which is Thin Line Appreciation Day. There are so many partner agencies that are en route with us that support us, and not just support us, but support, Iowa and Minnesota. So when you look at the different lines, you have law enforcement, fire departments, nurses, dispatch, military, federal agents, search and rescue, wounded warrior, EMS, and corrections. It's a great way to, be able to showcase all of them on one day.
Yeah.
Because we just don't have enough days to showcase them all on a day. So you can take this day if you are one of those, you work for one of those agencies. By all means, show off your jersey that you wear, but know that we'll support all those agencies that day.
Yeah, it's super cool. And I believe the thin line, it refers to the thin blue line of the police, but also of the flags you might have seen celebrating these different agencies. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's
with
red.
The stripes.
Yeah, there's red. There's blue. There's yellow, green. I mean, there's so many cool lines that I had no idea that they all existed under this platform. So
That's great.
to be able to show off 10 different, agencies, and then the agencies that kind of spill out underneath that, it'll be kind of cool that day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, all right, and we'll be remiss if we don't talk about Estherville, our overnight town, for day 2. Estherville is pretty cool. It's named after a woman, Esther A. Ridley, one of the first white female settlers in the area.
All right.
So,
okay, so day 3 begins. We get up, we leave Estherville, and this looks like we've got a few communities we're going to go through.
Yeah, this is one of the bigger days. Obviously, it's more miles, so you're at 74 miles. But the good news is you're going to average about 10.6 miles between towns. So we've kind of found, that 10 mile between towns is kind of the sweet spot. If you're into chunking and goal setting, like you can make it 10 miles and refuel. You can make it 10 miles and refuel. So by the end of the day, you can be in that overnight town. So we will leave Estherville, 1,338 feet of climb with a max grade of 3.2%. So a little bit more punchy in some spots, still not terrible.
got to keep things interesting.
Exactly. Yeah, keep you on your toes.
Yep.
But the first town out of the gate will be a town we've never been into, and that is Armstrong.
That's exciting.
Yeah, 17.6 miles, so the longest stretch of the day. Otherwise, it gets a little bit easier. But yeah, Armstrong will be that first town out of the gate.
And the town of Armstrong, this is kind of funny, but it's named after Thomas Armstrong, who came to the area to trap, but then almost immediately left after one winter because it was just too harsh. So to think about that, you're there for a couple months, it's too cold, you leave, and then the rest of the community says, let's name our town after him.
Must have been some character.
Yeah, how's that work out for you?
know,
Like you leave
I
us, and
know.
now we're going to name a town after you.
Yeah. All right, so then we head on to Sway City.
Sway City.
First time?
Yeah, first time, 9 miles, so underneath that 10 mile, which is what we're trying to average. 26.6 miles into the route, but yeah, it will be a first time town on a route.
Yeah. My one note about Sway City so far is that they have a park called Reynolds Park with a large pool. So
Very
Awesome,
good.
get
yeah.
ready for your large pool.
So we are making towards our halfway point. Our meeting town for the day will be Bancroft.
Bancroft.
We all kind of, if you're a RAGBRAI veteran, you know why that town is important.
It's because it's the home of Mr. Porkchop.
Yes, it is.
So talking to that family, they're super excited to be able to, celebrate, obviously Matt, who lost his life last year, and then be in their hometown for once. So
Yeah.
it'll be great that way. But yeah, you're 37.6 miles in, and that will be the meeting town for the day.
Well, I hope you better stop and have a chop there if they're set up there. But
Heck yeah.
yeah,
I bet they'll have extra chops that day.
maybe. Yeah. I remember when we went there in 2014, I got to meet the Porkchop senior. So that was a really special RAGBRAI.
Paul was
Yeah,
his name,
yep.
yes. Mhm.
Yeah, so these from Bancroft to the end was all 2014, the last time we visited these communities.
Wow.
Okay.
Cool.
We'll leave Bancroft, head 12.6 miles down the road to...
Tatanka.
Yes.
So this town has an interesting name as well.
So Tatanka got its name because of the Sioux word meaning big black, which for them means buffalo.
Okay. And I'm sure people will remember Tatanka from the movie Dances with Wolves.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
I know that as you come into town, there are 2 big buffalo statues that we will pass by, so that would make sense.
Okay, there you
Unmistakable.
go. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Pre-ride favorite because of the cool name.
There you go.
Yeah.
So we will leave that community, head 7.9 miles down the road to...
I don't know how to say this one. I'm going to say Woden.
Woden.
Woden. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Now it's one of these things where it depends on who you talk to, because I've heard Woden and I've heard Woden.
Okay.
So we have a meeting with obviously with the towns later on. So we'll get the definite.
We'll have to see what the locals say.
I want to sound like a local.
Yeah. So this town's name, Woden, is derived from the Norse god of war, which was Woden Odin.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
Put that on your license plate.
So the shortest stretch will be 6.5 miles after that community, and we will end up in Crystal Lake before we head to Forest City.
Oh, Crystal Lake just sounds delightful. I heard that it's a popular fishing town, and they have a large fish sculpture.
They do.
Ooh, photo ops.
I've definitely had my picture with it before, so I think it's time for a redo.
I think it's the world's largest bullhead.
I think you're
if
right.
I remember right, and it's massive. It's huge.
Okay.
It's quite large.
Yeah, it's quite large.
And we kind of skipped over that this day will be Karis Loop Day, so you'll be able to loop between Tatanka and Crystal Lake. Because it is Loop Day, it is also Vintage RAGBRAI Jersey Day. So
this will be obviously the Century Day for us. Obviously, disclaimer is some things could change en route.
Sure.
So as of right now, this is the day that we're looking at for that. I had a gentleman call me earlier. I think it was on Monday or last week, and said, "Hey, I'm only going to do one day, but I want to do the Century Day. I know you can't release the route yet, but can you tell me what day it's going to be?" So I said, "As long as you don't tell anybody, sir, I'll tell you today. Here's the day that I'm thinking." And he wanted to ride the Century Day. So
that's cool.
As of right now, that's kind of where I got my eyes at. With the 74 miles, it's easy to find another 26 miles here or there to make it work. And right now the loop looks good, but I still need to drive it and get eyes on it. So as of right now, that's the plan.
Yeah, that's exciting. And just a reminder, the route, this is the route. We've released the route, but we finalize the route during pre-ride. So in June, we'll make all of our final adjustments if they need to be made, if anything needs to happen, and then we'll put out the GPX files at that point.
Right.
Or slightly after that, but yeah.
So what's the mileage from Crystal Lake into Forest City?
9.3 miles.
Nice. Okay.
Yep.
So then we head on into Forest City. Was named that because it was literally cut out of a forest.
Whoa.
Yeah, and you'll see quite a few tree-lined areas as we head on into Ride Forest City.
I know. I love their logo.
Yeah, it's so fun.
So it's interesting to have the Karis Loop. This is day 3, so this will be Tuesday, right?
Yeah, earlier in the week. Kind of how I've built it is it's toward the end of the day, so you have the ability to see how you're feeling and gauge it. There's nothing worse as a cyclist to do the loop early in the day and then you have to finish, like you still have a lot of miles ahead of you. So being able to get more than halfway done and go, I'm feeling great, I'm going to do the loop today, and then confidently you can make it happen. Or, man, I'm just not feeling it in my legs, I'm going to call it quits and be done. So based on what the rider surveys say, I like it early in the week to get it out of the way, and then having it at the end that gives those riders the ability to bypass it and move on, or know that if I do it, I still have 2 towns of support around there. So, 10.6 miles is the average distance between towns, which is great for a longer day. And we do go by another airport in Esterville. So
cool.
Make sure you say hi when you go by.
And we haven't even touched on gravel options. I don't know if this early in the year you've figured that out yet, or are you keeping it a secret?
Yes and no. I'm keeping it a secret, and I've kind of figured it out too. So we will release the full gravel route probably the first week of May.
Okay.
For those of you that live in that area and know the weather, they've been hit pretty hard with a lot of snow. Last time we were there, they had standing water in their ditches. We had a little bit of a detour to go around some construction that they're chopping trees down, and we actually got kind of squishy on the side of the road. So I want to stay off the gravel until I know it is going to be somewhat dry for us to go out and ride it. As of right now, I have the routes built on Ride with GPS. They look good on paper, but until we actually get eyes on it and truly talk to the engineers to make sure we feel good about it, we want to find some good gravel, and usually that comes later, just as we start having conversations.
Awesome. All right. Well, we go to bed in Forest City, wake up bright and cheery for another day. But let's wait for the rest of this episode for another day.
We're going to leave you hanging.
All right. Well, thank you, Matt, for being here. And we're going to continue part 2 of the rest of the route on the next episode.
Talk to you next week.
Well, listeners, that is it for today. We want to thank you for tuning in to listen to the Just Go Bike podcast. If you would like to contact Murph and AP with a comment about the podcast, or maybe even you have a topic in mind, You can reach us at justgobikepodcast@gmail.com. Please follow us on Instagram and Facebook and watch our intros on YouTube. And don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast, especially if you're a fan. That is going to do it for this week. Until next time,
Just go bike.
Theme song by Ryan Steer, logo by Suzanne Milosevic, produced by Kathy Murphy, social media by Andrea Parrott, intro by Pumpkin. Until next time, just go bike.